Hello Gemini and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Gemini. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards first, and then we'll dive deeper into the reading the tarot as we progress. But first, I would like to get the overall theme of this reading. So I'd like to start with the overall theme, kind of get an idea of what we're going to be talking about in this reading. Overall theme of this reading for Gemini. Ooh, okay. Okay, so you have safe travel with stormy, focus and release. Okay, so these two cards I feel like really go together. And I feel like you're in kind of a stormy period of your life. Maybe things feel really overwhelming, really up and down, just in general, maybe things not going the way that you want. And with this safe travel card, I feel like this is the universe saying it's like you're on this journey, you're on this path, you're going to get to where you're trying to go safely. Like this path is going to lead to good things. Now, at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's easy, right? And I definitely don't want to downplay what it is that you're dealing with. But this release card is all about releasing what isn't serving you, whether that's mindsets or beliefs or habits or people or situations. And a lot of times, things in our life get stormy. Things in our life feel overwhelming because it's actually removing us from people, situations, things that are actually holding us back from what it is that we really deserve and what's really meant for us. So with this focus card, I feel like it's almost like there's a lot of creating space in your energy, creating space maybe in your relationships or just in your life in general, to allow for you to put your energy toward things that do serve you. Because I don't know why, but I feel like there's a lot of things that I don't know if it's necessarily like have been holding you back or have been like getting in your way. Maybe a lot of different things or one specific different thing. And I feel like this journey that you're on is about moving away from something, because the safe travel card kind of gives this energy of the Six of Swords. So moving like away from something and towards something else, which during, the journey, when you're in that in between of like moving away from something and then before you reach where you're headed, right, your destination, especially like it's almost like you're traveling this journey with no map either. So you're just trying to like feel your way through it. Like that is hard. That's not an easy feat. And so regardless of, how you might be feeling, especially if you're feeling really discouraged by the journey that you're on, I feel like this is, the universe kind of trying to let you know that it's going to take you to like good places, like in the kind of stormy, traveling in a boat context, like take you to some nice sunny beaches or, somewhere that, that feels really good. So let's look at this a little bit deeper. Let's start with looking at this recent past, Gemini. Ooh. Okay. Your commitment is being tested. It's time to release negativity with meditate and contemplate. So this is kind of giving this energy of being in a space where something in your life is pulling you down or dragging you down or holding you back, right? We kind of already talked about that, but I feel like with this, it's time to release negativity. It's very, obvious that that is the energy that exists. Now, your commitment is being tested isn't necessarily like, I don't feel like the universe is testing you with this, and if you make the wrong choice, you're screwed, or if you make the right choice, you win. Like, that's not what I view this as. I get the sentiment that the universe tests us, but I don't actually believe that that's the case. I believe that the universe is always supporting us, but a lot of times we kind of face our own limiting beliefs and fears and doubts and insecurities in real time. And the universe is trying to support us through that as much as we can, because our experience is a direct reflection of what's going on within us. And I feel like you've been putting a lot of work into some sort of path or some sort of outcome, but just it's like receiving, I don't know what this is. I don't know what you're dealing with, whether it's a relationship or a job or what, but just consistently receiving more and more negativity. And I feel like with this meditate and contemplate card, it's almost like this need to see things from a different perspective, especially if like you're doing everything you can to try to make something work and it's just like not happening. A lot of times those obstacles and challenges can really be redirection, but I don't necessarily know, again, what this is talking about or where this is headed, but I do definitely feel like this is about moving away from something and towards something new and better and more aligned. So let's see, Gemini, what we've got for your current energy. What do you need to release? And then, it's funny. I almost took that, but then I didn't. But then it came out again. And your dreams need a practical plan. It's almost like what you desire, what you're looking for, whether it's success or financial freedom or love or, peace or whatever the case is. These things, it's possible. Like you're capable of having them, but then nothing will come of this situation. You and your loved ones are safe with adjustments are required. So the universe is asking you to adjust course here because it's almost like you're looking for what you desire and something that is actually holding you back from what it is that you desire. And that's keeping you stuck in not having what it is that you desire. It's like you keep reaching some sort of a dead end or some sort of a negative outcome, and the universe is asking you to change course a little bit here with adjustments are required. But I feel like there's a lot of fear in regard to this, which is why I feel like you have this you and your loved ones are safe card, like knowing, again, you're very supported, you're very guided, that everything is going to work out for your highest good. But that doesn't mean it feels like it in the moment. And I'm not expecting or asking or saying that you should feel like, everything's fine, especially when everything is not fine. So I feel like as you're, progressing on this journey, things are feeling really overwhelming and stormy, but you're on, I talked about it in the beginning, right? You're on the right path. The path is taking you where you want to go, but there's something taking up too much of your energy, too much of your space. And that's actually keeping you from, the things that you deserve and desire. Because what you focus on, you attract more of, right? So if you're pouring your energy, your time, your energy, your mind, your body, your spirit into something that is just consistently providing you with negative energy, then that's going to actually take up the energy that you could be investing in things that would actually reciprocate you in a positive way. I feel like it's probably a lot more complicated than that. So we'll see, where this is all taking us as we keep progressing in this reading. What does Gemini need to know moving forward? Coming out? Okay. Wasn't sure. Balance spirituality and practicality with believe in the impossible. So it's interesting because it's like maybe you have dreams or you have goals, right? But maybe it's like they've started to feel impossible. Like it's like there's something that's blocking you from the dream that you have. Maybe you've put a dream on the back burner. And yeah, it's like maybe trying to make something work and it not working because it's not actually what you want. It doesn't align with what it is you actually want. Or maybe you think it's what you want, but it isn't capable of being what you need. Because to me, this is the universe saying, believe more in what you can't see. if you believe your dreams are impossible, you're never going to create them because you're never going to take steps toward them. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't necessarily know yet. I don't want to jump to conclusions. So I want to dive into tarot. I want to get the full story before. Man, my table was all kind of crooked before I started this reading. I want to get more just overall an overall understanding here. So let's dive into this more. You have meditate and contemplate with it's time to release negativity. Seeing something from a different perspective. Reset past here for Gemini. Okay, hang on. King of Cups in reverse. What is that? The Knight of Swords in reverse. This is a situation where you're straight up just not being treated well. But trying to do what you can to try to change that. There's this fear of losing whatever this is. I feel like this Five of Pentacles is like, you didn't want to lose this. But, okay, what is going on here, Gemini? Hang on. Let me, this is the Hierophant. There's looking at it from a different perspective. Four of Wands in reverse. 10 of Cups. The Ace of Wands. So, a space, a situation where you're not being treated well. But it's almost like there's this feeling that you have to put up with it. If it's like a boss situation or like a family member, I just gotta, it's like a situation that it feels necessary. Because whatever this is, you believe is going to lead you to what it is that you desire, the outcome that you desire. So it's almost like you're like, it's like, yeah, I just got to put up with this for now. If I just put up with this for now, eventually things are going to get better. But then they're not getting better. And I feel like whatever you're looking, because this Ten of Cups to me is all about like happiness. It's like looking for happiness, looking for fulfillment, looking for contentment even. And I feel like this in some situation has felt really out of reach for so long, because especially if you're doing what you can to try to make something be better and it's not working, you're gonna start to believe that you can't have this at all, this Ten of Cups at all. But that's why with the Hierophant, you're needing to look at this differently, because this actually, whatever this is talking about, is actually blocking your energy from what it is that you want, what it is that you desire, but you're looking at it as a necessary aspect to receiving what it is that you desire. It's kind of some chasing energy, which I think happens when we see potential in something. Like the best way that I could think of it is almost like a boss situation, maybe, where like you're at a job and this boss is they're just so horrible to you, taking advantage of you or expecting you to just not prioritize yourself at all, just to give everything you have to them. And you're like, man, if I just have to work here a few months or, a year, and then I'll get promoted and then I just won't have to deal with this anymore. But then like promotion time comes around and you didn't get promoted and you're stuck in the same position with this person that just, or this boss or this space where you're just like treated so horribly. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what it is. That's kind of the energy that it gives. And I feel like, yeah, it's like, but I can't leave because I need the money. Like, and if I could just get promoted, then it would all be worth it. If I could just get, past this, or, I don't know. Maybe if this person just finally sees, like, I'm worthy, they'll get off my back and, like, I'll have a little bit of room to breathe. Like, something like that. Like, that's kind of the energy that it gives. Okay. You don't want to lose it, right? Like, because if I lose this job, then I lose the opportunity for promotion. So I'm going to do everything I can to not lose it, just put up with it. But then you've been putting up with it, and it's not happening for you. Okay, current energy for Gemini. Your dreams need a practical plan with what do you need to release. It's almost like there's a much better position for you that doesn't require you to have to put up with this kind of treatment. Yeah, your dreams have a practical plan. What do you need to release? Current energy for Gemini. I mean, especially if this is a relationship. Like, if you're putting up with this in a relationship, hoping that this person will change, like, I feel like it's putting you in a position of, continuing to be mistreated in some kind of way. 7 of Wands. Oh my gosh. 8 of Cups. See, this is about, like, kind of reaching this point where you're like, enough is enough, because it's like nothing, like, this isn't worth it. Yeah, you're being, and I said that the safe travel gave the energy of the 6 of Swords, right? You have the 8 of Cups, the 3 of Wands, and then the 6 of Swords here with the Justice in reverse. See, the thing is, if you, we attract what we accept. We attract into our life what we accept. And if we don't change anything, then nothing ever changes. If nothing ever changes, nothing ever changes. And we think a lot of times, like, we have to put up with certain mistreatment, or we have to put ourselves through hell to get to, like, the reward, the prize. We have to be mistreated by this boss because, when I finally make enough money, it'll be worth it. Or you have to be mistreated by this partner because, eventually they're going to see that I'm worthy and deserving, and they're finally going to treat me the way that I deserve and desire. Like, we believe that we have to put up with the suffering in order to have what it is that we want. It's like this belief that, what we desire requires us to suffer. And I almost feel like Spirit is asking you to change the way that you're looking at this. I know for me, for a really long time, like, I believed that success and, financial freedom came at a cost of, like, my emotional and mental and, like, physical well-being. Like, I had to be working all that every single second that I could, and I had to be pouring myself into something in order to be compensated appropriately. That was a belief. It wasn't a truth, but that belief created that reality. The way that we attract what it is that we deserve and desire is actually kind of easy, okay? In theory. We get very clear on what it is that we want, whether it's financial freedom, the freedom to, over our schedule, whether it's, the love that we deserve or whatever the case is. So we get very clear on what we want, and then we have to be willing to say no to anything that isn't that, to walk away from it, even if, being in a position where you're being treated poorly might provide this promise of, like, maybe eventually you'll be where you want to be. Just knowing how energy exchanges work, like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't get you there. Or, like, you'll get that promotion, you'll just have a new boss that treats you poorly. Like, what we accept, we attract more of. And the universe is always putting less than what we deserve in our path, not to test us, but to show us, to give us an opportunity to say, I know what I'm worthy of and I know what I'm deserving of, and it's not this. To be able to stand in our worth and in our power, despite the fear, despite the unknown, despite all of it. And I feel like that's what this energy is asking you to do, to create space for something better to take shape. Because a lot of times too, I think, and I know this from experience, we'll stay in this situation that sucks, but then, like, wait for something better to come along, thinking that, like, when something better comes along, then, finally I'll I'll make a change. But a lot of times we have to be willing to show up as if we're worthy and deserving of more before that change can actually happen and take place. So you're being asked to step out of your comfort zone in some way, almost like to recognize that you don't need to suffer to have what it is that you deserve. You don't need to suffer to have love. You don't need to suffer to have, financial abundance. That doesn't mean that you get to a point where your life is just perfect. There will be, struggles and challenges and things of that nature, but it's not, just constant negativity. And I feel like whatever the situation is, it's pretty constant negativity. It's like majority of the time you are in a place of suffering because of this. So I feel like, especially with the Eight of Cups is all about walking away from something, right? It's leaving something behind. It's embarking on a journey. And with the Justice in reverse, like at the end of the day, like you are getting a little bit screwed over in some sort of situation here. And sure, a lot of it might be out of your control, but if there's anything that I've learned, it's that we cannot control how people treat us. We can only control how we show up and how we respond. So for me, before I started this business, I was in a job where I was working for somebody, and this person very, very much took me for granted and did not took advantage of me. They did not treat me well at all. And I let it happen because I needed the money. I needed, I saw a lot of potential in that job. So I did it. I put up with it. And eventually one day I just kind of snapped. It's like she crossed a line and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And I quit my job out of the blue. I don't recommend doing this because it comes with a lot of fear. And I was so scared because I was like, that was my income. Like, what the hell am I going to do? And I decided, I put my foot down. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And the universe very much led me to what I do now. And during that period, there was so much fear there. And it was almost like I was putting up with this, what I thought that I had to in order to survive. But when we put up with certain things because we think we have to survive, we stay in survival mode. It's very backwards, right? We're in survival mode because we're choosing to do things that prioritize our survival. And you're a human being, so that makes a lot of sense, right? But there's always another way. Breaking out of survival mode is about no longer, being okay with just surviving. It's about trusting that something greater exists for you and it is possible for you. And I think that's why you literally have believe in the impossible with balance, spirituality, and practicality. I feel like there's so much potential for you in your life, but I feel like you're holding on to something because you think you have to, or because you think you need it, or because you think it's the only way, or maybe you've spent a lot of time there, who knows? But that right there is actually keeping you stuck and experiencing less than what you deserve and desire, because something better cannot come along until we raise our standards, until we say, I'm not going to accept anything less. And that's our choice. That's our decision. That's where our power lies. It's not over trying to change a situation or control something. It's about, doing what we can. And when what we can do is not enough to change something, then being able to say, this is out of my control. So if I can't change this, I'm going to change myself. I'm going to change the way that I show up. I'm going to set stronger boundaries. I'm going to walk away if necessary. And I'm going to trust that wherever I'm going to be taken from this point forward is going to lead me to what it is that I deserve. Because you don't deserve this. This isn't, and you probably know that, but you're putting up with it out of survival. But that survival, the putting up with it out of survival is keeping you in survival. I hope that makes sense. I know that it's hard, right? Because it's like, well, when you look at things so logically, it's like, well, I can't just leave this, or I can't just make this decision and change. And it's like, but why can't you? We limit ourselves to what we believe is possible. What if the universe was supporting you to something better? What if the universe was trying to take you to what really aligned with your worth and what you deserve and the success and abundance that you desire, but you aren't able to find that because you're holding on to less because you think you have to. And, I think that it's, again, always easier in theory, so much harder in practice, because you are a human being wired for survival, and you are going to prefer familiar hells over unfamiliar heavens. We always do. We prefer what is familiar and what is predictable and what is within our control over the potential. But the potential, everything that you desire exists on the other side of the fear keeping you from that potential. So, but again, always easy in theory, but I feel like those messages are really important for you today. So what does Gemini need to know moving forward? Breaking out of what's familiar. Yeah. The Six of Cups in reverse, the Page of Cups. If you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, You will never, ever receive a different result. There's a lot of trying to control the uncontrollable. And I've taken from someone who has been a control freak my entire life. Like, I know how hard it is to let go and to allow things to fall away if they're meant to fall away, or to take shape if they're meant to take shape. Because, I think for a lot of people, control is what has kept you alive, right? You control so that you can literally get by, so that you can survive, so you can make things happen. But what if you didn't have to make them happen? What if you could let them happen? Now, this isn't, saying just be lazy and give up, right? Because that's not what surrender is. That's not what letting go is. Letting go isn't giving up. It's about changing your approach. It's about changing the way that you feel, changing your role. Essentially, you go from feeling like you need to make it all happen to believing the universe is supporting you in it happening, even if it looks a little bit different than you might think. But that, just because it's different doesn't mean it's not going to be as good. Just because it happens in a way that's different doesn't mean it's not going to align with you deeply. Because I feel like there's a lot of divine guidance that's available for you, but I feel like there's this energy of being kind of shut off to it, because Spirit is trying to take you to better things, but you're holding on to the familiar. Now, we all have an ego, and your ego is not your enemy, despite the way that I think it's often spoke about in the spiritual spaces. Your enemy is not your ego is not your enemy. But it is wired for survival, and your ego is going to make decisions that it knows is going to keep you alive. I mean, and again, we all need an ego because it's what keeps you from stepping in front of a bus. But your ego prefers what is familiar because it knows how to survive in those spaces. So, a spiritual awakening and starting to take steps with the belief that you're supported by something bigger than you is about stepping out of the ego, the drive of the ego, and trusting and something a little bit greater, whether you call that your intuition, your higher self, your spiritual guides, whatever it might be. And I feel like that's what you're being asked to do, to change what you're doing and change your approach, because what you're doing isn't working, and it's not working for a reason. It's not working because this isn't what you deserve. It's not working because this isn't where you belong. And I think so much of the time we try to make something work over and over again. And then when it doesn't work, we go, oh, well, this must mean that I'm just not able to find love, or I'm just not meant to be successful, or I'm just not meant to be happy, or whatever the case is. And it's like, no, actually, this is actually taking you to better spaces, but it's not working so that you change your approach, not to prove to you that you can't have what it is that you deserve and desire. So I think that I'm kind of speaking to a collective that's at a little bit of a crossroads now, and you're needing to change direction in a way. Like, when you're at a decision making place, like, do what feels the most unfamiliar. Do what feels the most risky. Do what requires you to have the most amount of faith, because Spirit is saying if you can trust that the things that you deserve and desire are possible without you having to suffer for them, you're going to create them. When I started this business, I was, because back when I was working for that, that boss that I was telling you about, I mean, I was working 12 to 14-hour days. Like, it was pretty miserable. So when I started my business, I kind of carried a lot of that energy over, and I was forcing so much of my time and energy into it until I couldn't anymore, and I had to back off. When I started to back off, things actually started to improve. My income started to go up. And I actually, for a while, like, I felt really guilty because I went from working 12 to 14-hour days to working like 15 to 20-hour weeks. Like, and I was like, for a second there, I was like, this feels wrong. Like, I'm so used to being miserable in order to have financial freedom. But it was the opposite. It was that I needed to believe that, my work has value, and that what I bring to the table is valuable, and that is going to be properly compensated without me having to suffer for it. The same kind of thing happened with me attracting the relationship that I have now. I used to believe that love meant suffering and pain and putting up with, unhealthy situations. But when I stopped doing that, I attracted a relationship that didn't require me to do that. So I think so much of the time we believe that we have to suffer. We think that it's something that we have to do because for a lot of us, we have, right? We've suffered and we've survived for so long. But breaking out of survival mode is about believing that you don't have to survive in order to be safe, in order to be taken care of, in order to have the money that you need or the love that you desire. So taking that approach, I feel like, is really going to help you create the space, releasing things that require you to suffer in order to have them, releasing those and creating space for what doesn't require you to be so unhappy, that doesn't require you to pour so much of yourself, overextend yourself into it in order for it to be what it is that you need to be. So, I think that where you're headed is good. I think that, the universe is trying to take you to those warm, sunny beaches, right, that I was talking about, but it's going to require you to adjust your approach, to change the way that you're approaching all of this. So with that being said, I'm going to hop on over to the extended, where we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. We're going to look at the deeper messages, and then what it is that you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. So focusing kind of on that advice from your spiritual team. Thank you so much, Gemini, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Gemini.